Sistre. Hi, darling.
What up? I'm Autumn Brown, a theologian, a mother of dragons, and a healing justice facilitator for social movements living in Minneapolis.
I am Adrienne Marie Brown, queer and naked writer based in Detroit, author of some books, working on another one.
And this is How to Survive the End of the World,
our podcast on surviving apocalypse with grace, rigor, and curiosity.
And we're back. And this is so exciting because this is like we're actually back together. Aww. This is the first episode that we're recording of the second half of our 2019 season, where it's just the two of us talking to each other. And I know I've been missing talking to you. So I know you've been missing talking to me. And I know our listeners have been missing us talking to each other. So this is just so nice. So we thought that we would use this call time today, recording time, to basically just catch it up and share with each other what have we been up to and let our listeners in on a little bit of like, why is our schedule so bananas this year? Like, what's changed?
Going on with life?
So,
yes.
Okay, so you are having a banner year. You had Pleasure Activism come out in the spring, and you've been in like back-to-back events all for most of the year because you've got Pleasure Activism happening, and then you also have this series of emergent strategy immersions happening
all over the place
in various cities all over the country, and that's been happening all year.
Yeah.
And then right now you're working on another book.
Yes.
And I saw on the internet a video that you posted in which you were like giving people like a live view of your writing process.
Yes.
And how distractible you are because of, I'm guessing, some level of creative resistance to your process.
I mean, it's like,
do you want to talk about that a little bit?
I do. I think I wanted to share that video and kind of share the process because I feel like, I don't know what other people's creative process is like, but I always feel so much shame about mine. I feel shame about it until I complete the project, and then I'm like, beast. Like, that's how you write a book, you know?
That's right.
So, but during it, like while I'm in it, I'm just like, in my mind, like when I set aside time, so it's like, okay, this is going to be time where I write. So in my mind, what happens is I wake up early, I go sit at a desk, which I don't even have a desk, but in my mind, I go sit at this desk.
My mental desk.
I've tried to purchase. I've had a desk set up many times. Spiritual desk.
My emotional support desk.
Ancestral desk. It's like, it's a desk that is there in my mind, and my computer is on it. My notes are next to it. Maybe there's like stuff up on the wall that's all like laid out, like, here's what your book will look like. And that's the process in my mind. And then what actually happened, and then I'm like, I turned off the internet, and like I just dedicate myself for days to, you know, in a meaningful engagement in writing this book. And so what actually happens is often like I'll wake up at 6 o'clock with anxiety brain, with like all the different thoughts of my entire book trying to get in at once. And so being like, I gotta run, and like, you know, so I just like start writing a note on my phone or something. And
right before you've even like peed or
I have
drank
not
water.
Peed, so my bladder is full. You know exactly the look, right?
It's very
or I'm
stressful.
trying to write while trying to Kegel walk to the, because everyone Kegel walks to the bathroom in the morning, right? Where you're just like, hold it in.
We all Kegel walk to the bathroom.
Hold it in. Kegel.
Right.
Which someone told me they thought it was Kegel, like bagels, the other day. What? I think it's Kegel.
Both pronunciations are acceptable.
Okay, because bagel spelled with an A is what I responded. So anyway, so I like...
You know, in Minnesota, they say bagel. It's really upsetting.
Oof. Ugh.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Anyway.
I always feel like if you can hear that your accent is not the best choice for how to pronounce something, why not
change your accent?
Anyway, is that like dominant culture? Anyway,
it is very dominant culture.
Well, but I think
sometimes the dominant culture just expresses itself through me without me really making a choice.
I didn't choose that. Although I will say, I think the best accent that I found on my phone for the things you can choose to give you direction is the Southeast Asian accent of English. It's the most beautiful one.
Oh, okay.
It's the most beautiful one by far. I wish we could all do that. Anyway, so...
but that would be racism.
I think so. I mean, I'm actually trying to work it out where I'm like, everyone should have the best one, which is not the white one. What the heck is that?
What do we do about that?
Yeah.
It's an impossible problem to solve.
We should do another episode someday about future linguistics or something.
Yeah, totally. But meanwhile,
right?
You're Kegel walking.
Anyway, so I'm Kegel walking to the bathroom with my phone in my hand, trying to get like the whole book out of my brain. And I'm very focused for like the first like 2 seconds. And then like I usually keep my phone on airplane mode when I sleep because in my mind that protects my brain from the alien radiation forces that are constantly moving through the phone. And it's better than sleeping with aluminum foil around my head. So I run to the bathroom, and then at some point while I'm on the toilet, I'm like, I should just look at the internet for like 5 seconds before I really
just to check and see if anything major happened between last night and this morning.
Did someone die? That's the only thing I really. That's why I always use the internet. Anyone dead?
Right.
So
anyone dead?
Because apocalypse is
turns out there's always someone dead.
A of all, there's always someone dead. B of all, it's rarely someone I know or need to know about. And C of all, there's a lot of other information on there that then I will. So I'm on the toilet, and like it seems like sometimes an hour passes of just the internet and me and the toilet. And I'm not pooping.
You know that's not good for your pelvic floor to sit on the toilet for that long.
Yeah, I mean, I am exaggerating. My pelvic floor is amazing. But especially since I started doing these Kegels. So, anyway, but what happens is...
I'm happy for you.
Thank you. Well, I got it from you. You really taught me about the importance of my pelvic floor. And I feel like whenever I Kegel, I'm thinking of you. I'm like, we're Kegeling together, you know? Are you Kegeling all the time? Or am I just doing it by myself out here?
I'm off my Kegel practice. I need to get back on that horse.
Let's Kegel together. Let's be Kegel friends. Okay. Kegel friends.
Kegel accountability buddies.
Kegel accountability. Well, yes. So a cab. Oh, man. I hope that people are so grateful for all of this. So...
Okay, so an hour passes on the toilet with the internet.
Sometimes more than that passes of just like internet, right? Which for me is like I'm looking through Instagram, and then I'm like, wait, maybe something is on Facebook that's not on Instagram. Mm-hmm. Go over there. No. And then randomly Twitter, my least fave, but I'll just check and be like, anything here? And sometimes I'll just be like, what else? Is Friendster still around? You know, like I'll just be like, where can I find more data on the internet? And then finally I'm like, oh, wait, this is my time to be writing. And so then I feel very guilty, rush back to my computer, turn off the internet. I usually work in like 15-minute stints before I try to reach for my phone or reach for something. And I'll be like, luckily I have it on airplane mode. Often that will deter me and be like, no, bitch, go back and write.
It's so important to have that one extra step.
I'm like Google verifying my brain, right? I'm just like, no, are you committed to being a writer or not? And I will often say things like that, like, where's your commitment? Like, do you really care about this or not? And make myself put it back down. And I usually can make like 3 or 4 rounds of that before I'm like, no, I should check, right? So it's so important for me often to go to a place where the internet is just not available to actually do the level of focused writing I need to do, which I did a couple weeks ago. I went to Hot Springs, and mostly it was really a powerful space to be writing in, because I would wake up super early and go sit in one of the baths there and just write by hand on paper, which I miss doing and I need to do a lot more of. But when I'm home, I'm just like, oh, I'll do it on my computer, sometimes on the phone. And then interspersed in that is like occasional eating. I get very like, I can't cook. I can't do food. Like I can't do this. So it's just like, I need toast. I need cereal. I need like frozen food that I can heat up, for the moment. Like as soon as I decide I need food, I just need it to be super fast and I can stuff it in my face. And I only clean myself if I'm like, it would be good to sit in the bath to write. Like it's really disgusting. But you know, I thought this was so bad. And then when I went to, I've done a few writing retreats, and at each one of them, other writers were like, same. Basically, like when you really get in there, it's like hygiene, going to work out, like all this other stuff is like, whatever. I'm a writer. I've got to write. And also because we often have these very short windows to really give ourselves to writing in a dedicated way.
Right.
And I'm in the throes of it right now. So the book that I'm working on is on facilitation and mediation. And it's been, I will say the good things I've done for myself is I've been very on my self-care, like body care during this. So
good.
I've gone and gotten really good massages during this process. I've been like working out. I did the School of Embodied Leadership. I was on the teaching team last week. It's like our generative somatics boot camp.
That's when you were covered in dirt and tears.
I was covered in dirt and tears. It's like one of my favorite things. So I did that and I got into the PT practice. And so I've been doing crunches every day, doing upper arm work every day, like just moving my body, stretching out my, like rolling my joints around and just making sure I don't end up totally in one little Z shape by the end of this.
And I have to say, Adrienne, on this tip, your skin looks amazing right now.
Thank you. I've been
your
drinking
self-care regimen is
so
really,
much
really
water.
For you.
Like in absence of food, I just drink a ton of water and then Kegel walk to the bathroom every 5 minutes. But it's really mostly water. And then being at the hot springs, I'm sure was like really helpful too, because I was just like sweating it all out. And I will say the hot springs was dope because I fucking figured out my book. So you know how this is when you're writing a book where you're just like, oh, it's like this, like those moments where you're like, ew, I thought this was the end, but it's the beginning. And I'm really excited about.
Yeah, I feel like I think about like the metaphor I often think about for this is like, I remember when I moved to New York City and was learning to navigate the subway system.
Yes.
And at first it was like I couldn't figure out. Then it was like I needed constantly to be checking the map or checking the this or checking the that in order to be able to just like get from point A to point B. And then I remember that there was a point about 2 to 3 months into my time living in New York City where suddenly it was like the city materialized for me in my head. And then I was like, I understand how the city is shaped, and now I understand how to get where everything is, without having to constantly like reference a map. And I feel like it's a similar process with a creative project where it's like it's all there, but because you're like touching different parts of it, you can't see the shape of the whole, and then suddenly it just materializes and you're like, that's what it is. It's actually this whole world. It's not a linear.
It's not a linear process.
1, 2, 3,
and it's not a mess, which is often what I feel like in the process heading towards it. That I'm like, here's 300 random thoughts I have about facilitation that I've been like jotting down, because I've been working on this book for a while now. Of just like whenever I'm doing facilitation, noticing the pivots, the turns, the instincts, the observations, and just writing them down in very short, sweet little bits, right? Because I want this to be something that people can just whip out and be like, boom, that's what I needed to know about how to do an adaptation right now. But it also, when you then look at it, you're like, oh, what is this? And it kind of clicked. Like, I'm like, if this all goes according to plan, it's really going to be like a choose your own adventure book through facilitation and mediation. And it's geeking me out now. Like, I'm super in love with the book. And so
basically, like, if you want to learn more about this, turn to this page.
Exactly.
And then keep going.
Like, I'm going to try to pull off having people start in the middle, in the heart of the book, and then move out from there. You'll be able to like kind of weave yourself in a big infinity symbol back and forth between the content. Or I'm going to present like 4 different ways to read the book. Basically, it'll be like, you can read it straight from front to back, or you can start in the middle and do this thing, or you can do a few other ways. And we'll see if it's ambitious formatically. I don't even know if that's a word. When you're writing, you're just like, I also made up a word for what this is. But yeah, I do feel like that, like I'm just like in it and enjoying it. And
how exciting.
The only thing that feels really like why did you do this? Is the idea that I set this goal for myself, like finish this book before your sabbatical. And so you can take your sabbatical and mostly not be working on a book, which means.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because that's what I've done in the past that I think has taken away from like my breaks or my vacation time is my last sabbatical. I did a good job. Like I actually took a sabbatical and was mostly not working on another book project.
Right.
But then since before that, and then since then, almost every other break I've taken has been to produce or finish a book project or some other piece of writing. And so it's like I went to a beautiful location and I spent the entire time doing work. But I love to work, but it's also
it's a different kind of work.
It's a different kind of work. And what really I want to do is actually get this part done so that if any writing does come during my sabbatical, that it can be fiction. Because fiction is, for me, a different kind of pleasurable experience of writing and world building. And I want to do a collection of short stories. So I want to make room if that needs to come. But
totally.
So that's where I am. That's what I've been up to for the past little bit. And I keep thinking of these big moments. Like a few years ago, my friend Danny said something to me like, it's okay to take the time you need for your writing life. Like you shouldn't feel guilty about it. It's actually good news. And then recently my coach, Inka, similarly said to me like, your writing is actually valuable and it's good. It's like you shouldn't feel bad about going to write. And it was just like such a breakthrough moment, which I feel like I've had a few times where I'm like, I really am a writer. Like I really am a writer. And it's where I feel like my contribution, a lot of times it's where I feel like my contribution can be the strongest as a human being. Like for the time I have on earth, I'm like what I can do as a writer and how many people I can reach as a writer and how honest I can be on the page. I'm just like, I can really, like, this is the most efficient way to pass on what I keep learning. And
yeah.
Totally. Like, I'm just like, oh, trying to do workshops with people. I'm like, oh, I can only reach 20 of you at a time. And, 2 to 4 days is not like that much, and even with that, it's like, what's the depth? How, like I can't cover it all comprehensively. We can have powerful experiences. But then when I'm like, oh, you fully immersed yourself in this book, that covered all the things I knew about that at this moment. And then you took it and experimented with it and made it your own. That is powerful to me. So that's where I've been with my writing process. And that's mostly what I'm focused on right now. Emergent Strategy Ideation Institute has 2 more immersions to do this year, one in Oakland and one in Puerto Rico. And I'm super excited about them. And I also am like, I have an incredible team now of people. So like, it feels like I'm in such a good place to go on sabbatical because I'm like, I trust my team. Like I've got amazing human beings and I'm excited to actually take a step away and get to see all the things that are going to grow in that space. So
that's right. That's it. And it's such a cool like practice of surrender and risk that you're taking by stepping away and then like, orienting to like, when you return, you can't anticipate what will have taken place while you're gone.
Right.
And that's
I don't want to, I think the thing, my team knows this, and I guess I can tell the people, but I'm also not ever going to return in the same role. Like, I'm not interested in being a director of anything ever again in my life. So when I return, I feel like I pushed the boat into the water, and now the boat is floating, but I'm like, oh, I don't know how to maintain a boat. I'm not a boat captain. I don't know navigation. What I can do is tell you about boat pushing or whatever it is, right? So I'm like, I should just be the teacher. I should be sitting over here offering, whatever guidance people need around that particular piece. And so I'm excited about that too, to not grasp tight onto like the founder piece, but be like, I pushed it. I did a first push and now it's going to grow into some other things. And I hope to continue to be useful. I think I will. And I want to be a contribution that really suits my skill set. And I feel like I'm trying to break the toxic patterns in nonprofit space where people just continue to push past what is their organic contribution and just try to do all this other stuff that they don't do well, because that's our idea of a leader, is you're supposed to be able to do everything. Yeah. I'm like, I can't do everything well. I can only do about 10% of things well, but I can beast those things, and I should do that, you know? And I'm 41. I just want to go beast the things I'm great at.
Yeah. Well, and that's the whole problem of like, it's the whole problem of hierarchy, right? That like the only way in hierarchy, the only way to advance is to change roles. Exactly. And so it's like you can't advance inside the same like body of work that you are already in.
Just like keep deepening. But I want to do it. I've been thinking about that exact point. Like I want to do it dojo style, right? Where it's like,
that's what it is.
I'm so, I think literally like some kind of life arousal happens for me when I'm around like an Aikido dojo or jiu-jitsu or something, where I'm just sort of like, wow, y'all just stay in here and you keep rigorously practicing the same moves until you master them, until they come naturally to you. And that's what, it's just like, oh, this is the art that I'm great at. And I'm like, that's what I want to do. I want to do that for myself. And then I want to create that kind of dojo-like environment for other people who want to learn the things that I know well.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting too, like structurally, I was just thinking about how like oftentimes spiritual centers, like centers of spiritual practice, will have that role differentiation where there's a guiding teacher or a spiritual teacher, and then there is the administrative arm of that spiritual center, and that might include an executive director, but those people are not the same people. And so it seems like a really, really smart move to like let those roles be differentiated, that like the people who are going to guide us on the teaching don't need to be the people who take care of the institution, right? And actually, as long as the people who are taking care, exactly. But that's how most of these institutions are set up. But it's like, as long as the people who are taking care of the institution part are values aligned, that's all that matters.
Well, and I think that it gives more people more opportunity to participate and to give to movement work. This is what I think all the time, because for me, that quote that was on Grace's wall, that's in Emergent Strategy, where it's like, building community is to the collective what spiritual practice is to the individual. I think about that so often, that what we're doing as movement workers, some of us are doing the spiritual work of building relationships in our community, and it's a spiritual work, and we should be doing that well. And that doesn't necessarily translate to all the other structures that also need to be around that, but all of that is movement work. And I've been shifting away from the language of like organizer versus healer or versus other things, and moving towards, these are all different ways to be in movement work. But movement is this larger, massive container that needs all different kinds of work. It needs healers, it needs cultural workers, it needs on the street organizers, it needs administrators, it needs
operation managers. Yeah, exactly.
So I love all the things I've been sharing about my writing process and that life and the lessons there. And I really want to hear what's going on with you. I feel like since the last time folks got to hear from you, it was like, I am finalizing this massive transition in my life. We are moving to Minnesota. I mean, I keep saying Minnesota. We're moving to Minneapolis from living in rural Minnesota up north somewhere for years now. Yeah. And I want to hear, how has it been moving into society in this different way now? There's so much that has changed.
Yeah, so we made the big move on over Labor Day weekend. We made the transition from our home in central Minnesota out in the middle of the woods to two new apartments in the Twin Cities. And it has been like, so the transition has been so much better than I anticipated, that I could have anticipated.
Oh, wow.
Not that there haven't been really rocky moments just related to like the logistics of 3 country bumpkin kids trying to navigate, like, we live in a city now, and, going from not riding a school bus at all to having to navigate multiple, busing to multiple locations. They have been, however, like this process has shown me the resilience of my children in a way that like I just had no idea. Like, I know my children are amazing. I had no question about whether they could handle it.
Yeah.
But I definitely didn't anticipate them being as adaptive and strong and brave as they've been. And that's been just, it's just been gorgeous to watch. And like,
and leaning on each other, it seems like.
Yeah, like they had a very intense experience where the first day of school, they got off the bus at the wrong bus stop. They got off the bus at the bus stop for my house instead of their dad's house, even though they were supposed to be going to their dad's that day. And it wasn't their fault. They were like told to get off the bus there. And so I got a call from my co-parent saying, "Do you have them?" And I was like, holy shit, I know what's going on. So I tore out of and that was also the day that I was moving to my new apartment, right? So I'm like in my apartment setting up all my stuff, get this call from my co-parent. And so I throw on my shoes, tear out of the building, run 3 blocks to where I know that they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I don't see them at first. And so I'm just like, the feeling for any parents who are listeners, that like when you think your child is missing, it's like the worst feeling in the world. It's like physically, it's like the worst sensation. and
Siobhan,
so
I told you Siobhan like disappeared from the movie theater for like 5 minutes when I took them to the movie.
Awful.
And I literally was like, I'm gonna kill every person in here until they give me that child back. Like it was like I went directly to like atomic bomb. Like,
you definitely go directly
my heart
to murder.
was like pounding in this way that
it's very, very scary. And so I'm standing there at the intersection where I believe they're supposed to be, wildly looking around, and then I look to my left and I see them at the other end of the block, hand in hand, walking in the other direction. And so I run after them and I yell until they hear my voice and turn around, and they all just in unison burst into tears and run towards me. And then we hug it out. And then they explained that like they basically stayed put as long as they felt comfortable staying put. And then they decided because they didn't know where to go, they just decided to hold hands, pick a direction, and walk in the direction that they thought that their dad's house might be in. And so, and then my co-parent basically like drove around and hopped out of the car, and we all reunited. And it was like, but we were so proud of them because it was like they didn't know what to do, but they knew to stay together, and they knew to take care of each other and to make sure that whatever decisions they made together. And they were they were basically like, probably it was like a total of 10 minutes that they were basically like out of the bus on the street, not knowing where to go. But like that was their first day of school,
Yes.
So, and that's very much that's part and parcel with like what it means to be making a major transition like this.
Yeah.
Where there's 2 huge transitions happening at the same time, both the transition in our family where they're having to learn to navigate a custody schedule, essentially, where they're going to mom's house versus dad's house at different times of the week. And they're also navigating moving to a different school and having to like figure out all the pieces that go with going to school in an urban environment. And and they're doing great. They're like amazing. And so the last, it's been almost 2 months since the move and the new start of school, which is kind of amazing to think about. Like, and I love my new apartment. I have amazing neighbors downstairs who are renting this apartment to me, and they're also friends. And so we've started like a weekly family dinner. Aww. And they love my kids, and they're just so generous with us. And like, just really, I'm very, very lucky to have incredible community here. And I mean, I think that's the other thing that's made the transition so much more easeful is that, I've been building relationships with people in the Twin Cities since I moved to Minnesota in 2010.
Right.
And part of that is that I had a couple of existing friendships with people in the Twin Cities. But then I also, when I moved to Minnesota in 2010, I got a fellowship with Intermedia Arts, which was an arts organization that existed in Minneapolis for many years. And so I started being able to build community right away. And so I had all of these long-standing relationships with people, both through friendship, community work, and also just my own political work. And so entering this community in 2019, it's like I've been so welcomed by people and who are just ready to hold me and hold my kids and show us a lot of love and make sure that we feel a sense of belonging. So I feel very supported. I love my new space, and the kids are really adapting well.
It's an awesome space. I love that there's basically like a little wing for them.
I know. It's like so perfect. It's like I close your bedroom doors and then I close another door to your hallway, and then it's like private space. So a couple of really exciting things have happened recently for me and for them. And one of those things is that my two youngest kids, Siobhan and Mairead, auditioned and got into their elementary school musical, which is the Lion King Kids. And then
the Circle of Life.
And then about 3 weeks later, they finally, the people who got actual speaking roles in the musical found out who they were cast as, and my middle child Siobhan was cast as Nala in The Lion King. And so I think that I about had a heart attack and died when I learned, because I am just like a monster stage mom waiting in the wings to be released onto the volunteers that are going to help support this musical process being put together. So
you're going to make sure her light is always right, baby.
Exactly. I'm just like, let me not be that person. In fact, so here's the hilarious thing.
Please don't play.
In fact, I can. The school is so prepared for people like me, because when Siobhan came home with her script, she also came home with a booklet that was written for families about like how to support your kid being in a musical.
Wow!
And one of the pages of the booklet is titled "Don't Be Mama Rose," referencing a character from Gypsy, like a monster stage mom.
Oh,
from
yeah. The
and
original
I was like,
monster stage
wow,
mom.
like these folks really understand who people like me are, and are like, do not do this to your child. These are the things to not do to your child.
Well, and I love that they have anticipated this, because it's like, this is actually a performing arts school. And so we know that most of the parents who are making sure their kids go in here may have some dreams of their own musical history,
may have some background,
that
some
they
trauma,
need to like move through.
People might have some broken dreams that they're trying to act out through their children. Yeah, so that was really hilarious to see.
Now, how is that for Mairead, our little Capricorn? Because I feel
let me tell you, they get off the bus, right? Siobhan gets off the bus first. She runs towards me, holding up her script, screaming, "Mom, look! Mom!" And I can see on her script that the word Nala is written on the front. And I'm like, oh my God! You know, so we were just like, and then I look behind her, and Mairead has walked off the bus, sort of smiling, but also like she's trying to smile, but she's actually holding back tears. And then she just starts crying. And then she says to me, I didn't get a speaking part.
Oh, so honest.
So she's just weeping. And Siobhan immediately tries to sort of like, stomach her reaction a little bit. And it was really interesting. So we had like about an hour where we were really navigating Mairead's disappointment, Siobhan's excitement. Mairead is like my excitement. So I basically kept like pulling Siobhan into a different room, and then we would like dance around and make like silent screams with our mouths.
And then I would step back. Twerk time.
Exactly. Then I'd step back out into the dining room and be like, "It's okay, Mairead, let's have a snack, and like let's talk about," So we talked a lot about the importance of like persistence. Yeah. We talked a lot about the importance of the chorus itself and the role that the chorus has in actually moving the plot and action of a play, and that every role is important, and actually the role of the chorus is very critical. And then I also just told her a little bit about my own history, that like, I was like, girl, I did not get a lead role in a play until my senior year of high school. Like I had to persist and persist and persist. And then my senior year of high school, I got cast as the lead in both the fall and spring productions. And it felt like it felt like such a reward because I had really, really worked hard for it, you know. And so she was like
Desdemona, wasn't that?
No, so I played in the fall. I played Beatrice in Much Ado About Nothing.
Yeah. Who'd you play in the spring?
In the spring, I played Aldonza in Man of La Mancha.
That role, okay.
That was it was a very hard role, and it was a lot of work.
Very hard role for a high school. I mean, like anyone.
It was a very intense musical for a high school to put on because there's like a gang rape scene.
Exactly.
And, like,
I'm like, there's like they did that.
I know, but that was like I was very lucky. I had a very, very the musical director, theater teacher in my high school, which was also a magnet school. She was very brave, and she was a very hard worker, and she was very interested in sort of like pushing the boundaries of what people thought was possible.
Yes.
So anyway, I
remember sitting next to Dad watching that.
Yeah. Oh, Dad. Yeah, there were some really hard scenes in that show to watch. Anyway,
I mean, I have to say I'm so proud of you, so proud of y'all for landing this way. You know, like it feels like through the fire, the children were kept so at the center of the concerns and the decision making, and it just feels like that's, you know, the fact that they landed, that it was like, okay, it's going to take a miracle to pull this off. But if we pull this off, they're going to get to be in the best possible situation for them. Yeah. And they're going to get to be in, I mean, for 3 kids who are all drama queens of life, like being able to be in a school that's like, we're going to harness all of that and move it into something beautiful
and channel it through discipline and rigor.
Honey, I mean, it's such a gift, right? It helps you not.
Truly a gift.
I think it's, I mean, I think for all of us, you know, I think about that for us growing up, that it's just like finding the arts, finding the fact that we could create and act and write and sing and like release so much of life in those artistic ways. I think it's a game changer. I think it saves lives. I mean, the thing that is of perpetual interest to me is like, what conditions do you want to live in? Like, what conditions do I want to live in? And one of the things my sweetie tells me sometimes is like, there's a way that you can really transform any experience into a pleasurable experience. Like, it really is a state of mind. Like, how are you meditating? How are you focusing on pleasure? And I'm like, but what about that experience? You know, like, how apocalyptic can it get? And I can still do the radical work of transitioning my awareness to the pleasurable aspect of it. And I don't know, I think maybe this is a great transition for us though, into talking about our resilience, and like what has been our resilience, because it does feel like, you know, I'm in this moment of writer delirium, and I'm very happy in it, right? Like even as I look around and I'm just like, you know, as a Virgo, to look around my house and be like, there's a pile of clothes by my door. There's literally 4 different options of slippers right by the bed. There's dishes in the sink. Like there's all these things, and I'm writing. And so there's a way that I look at each of those things as like a sign that I'm like, I am giving myself so completely to my writing process and letting my writing process be, that feels like a form of resilience to me. Like that in spite of this weird, traumatic moment of being a human, where so much of our future is in the hands of people who seem to care so little, it is incredible to still say, oh, I can still produce joy in my home, and I can still produce work that I'm proud of, and I can still produce work that I think will help revolutionary workers from now into the future. And that feels like resilient practice for me. I'd love to hear and share a little bit more about some of these pieces. Like, what do you feel like have been resilience practices for you in this transition phase?
Well, and it's interesting, like one of the things I just thought about in relationship to what you just shared is that like, you know, because I teach
you have such pretty wrists.
Thank you.
I know. I just saw you put your hand up. I'm like, oh my gosh. Pretty wrist.
Thank you.
You bet. Yeah. Now hold it right there for the rest of the call.
I'm just gonna right here.
Yeah. We should put a picture of your wrist as the art for this
that should
show.
Be exactly, and then people won't understand what it is until the end of the episode.
Listen. I like it. So I'm here for
it. So what you were just sharing about, like, I can still produce this work even inside these conditions.
Yeah.
Helped me remember that I do really understand and believe that core to resilience is a sense of agency.
Yes.
And, you know, in my political work, I do a lot of focus on resilience practices, especially right now, and especially in the context of supporting folks of color in movement spaces.
Yeah.
And that's just it's a piece of wisdom that I just return to again and again, that like my resilience in a particular situation is very much connected to my sense of agency over my own life.
That's right.
And I would say that like that has been, again, in part because of actually being able to physically, geographically move locations. I feel like that has been part of my resilience and recovery from the nightmare that has been like the last year of my life, is finally recovering a sense of agency and having a real sense of like, all right, like I'm creating a new home for myself and for my children. I'm recovering a sense of control over my daily life and what kinds of interactions I'm going to have and not have, and how I'm going to spend my time. Whereas, you know, so much of the spring and the winter of this last year, there was so much panic and such a sense of really not being in control of the conditions of my life, you know? Yeah. And so it's really been very healing for me to find resilience not in like a particular self-care practice, or not in like I definitely haven't gotten back to a place of having any kind of like daily physical practice or anything like that. It's more right now, my resilience is coming from, I am choosing where these pictures hang on the wall. I am going to the store with my child and picking out some clothes with them that are just for hanging out on the weekend. I am making this discrete choice. I am making this discrete choice. And all of those discrete choices are choices that I'm making that are about building my new life. And they're wholly mine. And that is because it's like helping me recover a sense of agency and control over my life. That is giving me a sense of, it's helping me see my own resilience in the face of like what's happened, you know?
That's right. I mean, you know, in the somatics world, like the way that we teach resilience it's really that. It's like, how do we recover, bounce back? How do we recover to our full selves, our whole selves? And sometimes it's like we're recovering something that is before our existence or before what we have known of ourselves, you know? Like I think about that as I've been doing some really deep healing work over the past year and a half, 2 years. And in some ways I'm like, oh, like I thought, you know, like I thought I was becoming an adult at 21, and then I thought I was becoming an adult at 27, and I thought I was becoming an adult at 33. And like, there's these major moments. And now I think it again, that I'm like, oh, most of my adult life has been lived in reaction to forces that I wasn't even really aware of. And I did a great job inside of all that. And I've lived a really powerful life. And, there's a way that I'm like, oh, but I'm bouncing back in some ways to the full potential of my miraculous being, the more that I'm able to understand what shaped me. And I'm like, oh, if y'all thought I was coming for this life before, like, I just feel like a whole nother level of power and magic and connectivity to the universe unlocking in me right now. That feels like it's only possible, you know, resilience and trauma go together, right? It's like, it's only possible because I'm being very honest about the trauma of my life, and that's allowing me to become very resilient. And I recently had the experience at the School of Embodied Leadership training. I'm one of the teachers, and we often will demonstrate like activities that folks are going to do. And we got to demonstrate one on resilience. And my friend Spenta was the person leading the demonstration, and I trust Spenta like to the ends of the earth and back. So I was able to really just give myself to her. She was like, "Feel for your resilience, like feel for it," and I was able to just drop in and feel. All the way down into that place that's like, oh, I'm whole and I'm completely connected. Like there's nothing broken in me. There's nothing to fix in me. And I'm absolutely lovable, right? I was able to tap into that. And, I think like many.
Yeah, you are.
I am, but it's deep, especially this period of my life has been so wild because I get a lot of public affirmation and people being like, I love you so much. And,
right.
But it's hard to let that in if down in your core, you're like, no, I'm not lovable. Right.
Yeah,
like what happens is all of that just falls into a black hole and you're like, you love the things I produce. And so I will have to keep producing those things and then you'll keep
in
loving
order to
me.
receive love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's a cycle that I don't want to be in. I don't want to be in that cycle. And so it's just so beautiful to do this practice and remember like, before I ever produced anything, I was lovable. Before anyone ever knew my name, I was lovable. And it will be that way if I go on sabbatical and everyone forgets who I am. That'll be fine. Like I'll still be a lovable person and I'll still be worthy of connection,
Adrienne, you are unforgettable.
You're saying to me, bitch.
In every way. And forevermore, that's how you'll stay.
Are you going to put that on the album? Will you cover that?
Should I? I think thinking that maybe the album just needs to be covers.
I mean, at least you need to do an album of covers. And then
I do need to do an album of covers.
That's what you need to do. An album of covers and an album of original music.
All right.
Okay, I'm glad we had
and
this
actually
talk.
Nehemiah can support on both of those things because Nehemiah can do
Nehemiah
can literally do anything and everything.
And it's like it's good practice. Yeah. Go back, go forward. Yeah. I love that. And
I love you and you are unforgettable.
I mean, I feel unforgettable to certain people in this time. And there's also, for me, there's something very comforting about the idea that I will be forgotten. I don't know how to describe that, but like that what I want my legacy to be is not my name, but like these ideas that I have contributed to in my lifetime. Like I'm really like if in a billion years, humans still exist in some way, and they are humans who are in a deep practice of pleasure and accountability and right relationship to the planet and small things. And I get to be a part of weaving that kind of future for our species. Like I'll be super lit in whatever kind of heaven-like astrophysics plane, whatever I'm on.
I like this idea. It's like because we're still at the point in relationship to the idea of evolution where people like the idea of evolution is more well known than the scientists who first posited the idea.
Exactly.
But we're still in that zone where people like kind of vaguely have a sense of who the person was who first put forward this concept.
Yes.
But like eventually this concept will just be pretty like disconnected from the person who first articulated it. Exactly. And I like the idea that like 1,000 years from now people are talking about emergent strategy.
Yeah. And like maybe with totally different language because I mean sure,
probably.
Like when I look back, like, there's certain times when I'll be reading
Southeast
like
Asian accents.
The Tao, dreams come true. Like, and be speaking some whole other languages with that perfect accent. But I feel like there's like the future is unparalleled. But I do think that like there's probably ancestors who look at my work and they're like, okay, I mean, we already did that like a billion years ago before this was called America. We already understood all that, but thanks for putting it in like modern language or whatever. And I'm like, cool. As long as I picked it up and handled it well, I'm cool with that. And even that feels like resilience to me, that like the more I can let go of my individual ego need to be approved and affirmed, which is not like that's not there. Like I like being liked. It's really sweet to go to events or go someplace and people be like, I love you. You
Totally.
changed my life. That's fucking great. And now I'm just like, what I try to do in those moments is instead of taking it in as like, I'm so great, I try to just say, thanks for letting me know that, because I did not get to tell Octavia Butler that. I didn't get to tell Audre Lorde that. I didn't get to tell Toni Cade Bambara that. I have not gotten to tell many of the people who have shaped and changed my life because of their writing. I didn't get to say it to them in real time,
Totally.
I think with Octavia, I was just like, oh, thank you. Like I didn't get to really say, because I didn't know then, right? Like you're going to change my whole life. So it feels like letting that in. And I always try to pass some of it back. Like, Octavia, I hope you heard that, because that was for us, Like, I'm partnered with y'all, and it's working,
Totally.
What about you? What's another resilience practice you're in or feeling right now?
Wow, it's such a good, challenging question.
Ice cream. I'm just kidding.
How did you know?
Because I visited you recently, and I was really, really impressed with the collection of ice cream that you had.
It's quite the thing. Well, because I'm still in that zone with my kids in particular, where one of my closest friends, when I was making the big move, she was supporting me over that weekend with the big move, and I was like having a moment where I was kind of crying and falling apart about like how empty my space appeared to me after moving all of my stuff into it. And she was like kind of kneeling next to me, and I was just like, how am I going to fill this space? How am I going to make it feel like home for my kids? And she was like, Autumn, what do your kids need right now? They need to be hugged, they need sleep, and they need to be able to eat whatever they want for the first month that they live in this house.
That's right.
Yes. This is my dear beloved friend Mary Rose. She was just
Mary
like,
Rose,
they need touch, they need sleep, and they need to eat whatever they want for the first month at least.
That's right.
And so I took that advice so to heart. So my entire focus of my parenting right now has been like cuddling my kids as much as I can.
Yes.
Making sure that they're getting as much rest as possible.
Yeah.
And then basically feeding them whatever they want to eat. And right now I'm in the process of like kind of drawing that down a little bit and making sure that like we're like pretty much exclusively shopping at the co-op, so that we're like at least getting the organic versions of junk food. If
I
there's
believe
any,
in
like,
that method.
It's just like, okay,
method.
we'll get the Boom Chicka popcorn. Okay, that's what we'll do.
But it's popcorn. And it's,
so we're leaning all the way into like really eating kind of luxuriously, and that includes having a lot of ice cream on hand at all times. And I've also been making the kids and myself smoothies every day. Frozen fruit smoothies. It's such a workable snack.
It is.
Like it works for breakfast, and it works when they get off the bus after
breakfast,
school.
lunch, dinner. You can have smoothies for your whole life.
You can have smoothies for your whole life. Exactly.
Add a protein mix to it. You can call it a meal. Okay.
So like they are all pooping really, really well. So as evidenced by the fact that I immediately started talking about my kids in response to your question about what is my resilience practice.
I was going to point that out, but I was like, too soon.
Yeah, it's cool. No, I already know. The great thing about being smart is that I already know.
You're like, I already know everything I'm up to. Fucks with me, therapist. Fucks with me.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I'm definitely unmoored from my own resilience practices at the moment. I'm having a hard time like getting a handle on how to like get enough rest. This weekend I was supported by a beloved person in my life to really schedule like block off time this weekend for my creative work. And so I'll be spending part of today and most of tomorrow in basically just doing some writing because I haven't had any meaningful time to do writing since I left Vermont in March. So yeah, it was a long time ago. And so I'm excited about having, and I actually anticipate that I'm going to spend a chunk of the afternoon today just reading because that tends to really support my writing process.
That's right.
And one of the
reading your own work.
No, reading just a piece of fiction that I've been wanting to read for a while, because for me, one of the things that jumpstarts my writing process is like reading a book.
Yeah, that's so good.
I remember when I went on my first writing residency in Vermont back in 2016, the first day I was there, I sat down and read the entirety of Cormac McCarthy's The Road in a span of 5 hours. Oof. And that like kicked off my actual residency, you know?
That's
because I'm a very fast reader when it comes to fiction. I can complete a book really quickly.
Only fiction,
and it's only
nonfiction
fiction, exactly.
is the opposite. It's like, why?
Nonfiction is just like, well, we'll just do this paragraph and then we'll go take a cigarette break.
This is literally my trick as like why I write everything, like all my nonfiction writing, I write it like conversationally, because I'm like, I don't know about y'all.
Exactly.
Read sentences.
How about this?
Like academic sentences lose me three words in.
Exactly.
Like,
but yeah,
hegemonically, I'm like, nope. Sorry.
Nope. So I think I've got some writing work I'll do this weekend, and I am taking a very short vacation at the beginning of November, which I really need because I have a very intense travel schedule for the rest of November and December. But I'm trying to basically, and some of my coworkers yesterday actually just supported me to block off like a 2-week chunk of time at the top of next year to take more time off. Because everyone is just aware, right, that like I have not had any rest. I didn't get any rest this summer for damn sure. Like I just am very, very, very fucking tired. And and I didn't, as I've shared now with my listeners, with our listeners, I didn't get a sabbatical when I went on sabbatical, like that's not what happened. The thing that my leave did teach me was that like my time matters more than my work.
That's right.
And
that's right.
And I want to retain that lesson. I don't want to slip back into any kind of behaviors that look like I'm centering my work over my own life.
Do you have that written up in like places around your house?
I don't. So that's something
Let's do that.
Okay.
Let's do that. I will tell you, like right now when I sit in my bed, when I wake up, the first things I can see, it says, birds coast when they can, trust the value of your ease. And your value is beyond what you can produce. Your value is beyond what you can produce. And those are two things that like came out of me at some point during coaching or therapy sessions or something. And it was like, oh, I need this. I need to be reminded of this like as soon as I wake up every day, because I get so caught in, oh, I need to produce, I need to give, I've never given enough. And like that, I think that's kind of one of the trappings of doing work for social justice is like, you're never ever going to do enough in that way. Like, totally. Because you can still see that justice has not been won for all people. So there's always more to do. And it's very easy to tie yourself up in that loop. And then there's a way that it's like, oh, how do ants feel about their production? How do birds feel about their production? How do I touch back in? Like, how do children feel about their production? And dropping back into that part of me that's like, I am not my production. And being part of community means that I also get to take breaks and I also get to have ease.
Thanks for listening to our show. We're on Twitter and Instagram at End of the World PC. We're also on Facebook at End of the World Show.
If you like everything about us and you want to support our livelihood, you can become a supporter of our work by going to patreon.com/endoftheworldshow.
Another super helpful thing you can do that also really does help this show sustain itself is to write a review on Apple Podcasts if you're an iPhone person.
This show was produced and edited by the dreamy and steamy Zach Rosen.
Music for today's show comes from Tunde Olaniran
and Autumn Brown and Nat King Cole in a way.
That's right.
All right.
In the tradition.
Our Easter egg today is...
So I was reading through the the reviews on Apple Podcasts, and I noticed a review from someone who said, "I just want to say I'm rooting for Autumn's really anxious dog." And I was realizing that for those among our listening crew who maybe have been rooting for Bran over the years and have special feelings about animals, there may be some like anxiety about like, well, what happened to Bran in this move process? And I wanted to share with folks,
you got to upgrade.
That Bran got a serious upgrade, because as you know, Bran, my relationship with Bran, my family's relationship with Bran has been strained basically from the moment he came into our home. And a magical thing happened. So I had been trying to find a home for Bran throughout the summer and had not been able to find a home for him. And so there came a week, it was like the middle of, it was the same week as Finn's birthday. So it was like the middle of August. And I had made an appointment, I had scheduled an appointment to surrender Bran at the Humane Society. And
everybody's crying about it. Everybody.
We were all upset. I mean, it was really intense too, because up until I scheduled the appointment, I was like, I just can't wait to get rid of this dog. And then as soon as I scheduled the appointment, I started to feel a real sense of like heartbreak about it.
Yeah.
And as the days drew closer and closer to the actual appointment, I just felt the sense of like, this can't be it. Like, I can't, this can't be it, you know?
Because it's like, it's not Bran's fault. Like, the way Bran is, it's not his fault that he drools all over the place. It's not his fault that he's anxious. It's not his fault that he's not.
And it's not that not his fault that he was adopted by a family that truly just didn't have the capacity or attention for him, you know.
That's right.
So,
Baby.
but this magical thing happened, which was that we threw a birthday party for Finn on Finn's birthday, and as per usual. And one of the families that came to the party and brought their child met Bran and then heard my tale of woe about the fact that I was like about to, you know, four days hence was about to drop him off at the Humane Society.
You better say hence.
And they were like, we're actually looking for a companion for our dog, and your dog is awesome. And I was like, my dog is incredibly anxious and actually needs to be on anti-anxiety medication in order to manage that. So, like, that would be something you'd have to be willing to take on as a part of having him if you're actually interested. So they talked amongst themselves. They asked me to drop Bran off with them for an hour to, like, socialize the dogs together. So 2 days later, I brought Bran over to their house and dropped him off for a little while, left, ran some errands. When I came back, the two adults in the family, the mom and dad, were sitting on the front step with both of the dogs like sitting calmly between their legs. And I was like, oh my God, Bran.
Oh my God.
Bran is going to be so well taken care of, so spoiled, so loved in this family, right? Like, it was just immediate. It was so immediately clear that this was the right fit. So then the next day, with you by my side, we drove back to their house and we left Bran and all of Bran's special Bran items with this new family. And then we left, and
Bran, I have to say, was so chill, like was so brave and chill. It was just sort of like, I love y'all. And I'm going to give you a little bit of like nose, you know, energies. I know you did your best. Like, I felt so like peacefully released as Bran's auntie. You know, I was just like, thanks, dude. Like, no hard feelings. Like, I gave you as much secret meat as I could through this time. Like, I really tried to love you as much as I could, you know, given the smells. And I feel like I did good. And he looked happy.
I feel like he was very happy in the transition, and I have felt very peaceful about it. Like, I didn't get upset in the process of transitioning him.
Yeah.
And I haven't felt any anxiety about it since. I just feel very much at peace with the fact that he has a wonderful new home. So I just wanted our listeners to know Bran found a new home. Bran is happy. I am happy.
I'm also happy.
The kids are also very happy that Bran found a new home.
Everybody's very happy.
Everybody's happy.
And, you know, now we just have a turtle baby in the family for another time.
Right.
For another time.
For another time. Future turtle stories.
Future turtle stories. All right. I love everybody who's listening this far. I love you so much, sister.
I love you too. All
right. Go eat.
Bye.
Bye, bitch.